My name's Michaela Barrett, and I lead the collaboration team and the OneDrive org. And with me today, I have Arvind. Arvind co-hosts the podcast called The Sync Up. We have some merch up here.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
And earlier before you guys all came in here, we're actually chatting about a new segment on the podcast I think would go pretty well, which is what movie wouldn't exist if OneDrive was in the plot?
Yeah. So, for instance, The Ring. If you've seen that movie, and it takes place in Seattle, of all places, if they had just stored that video inside of OneDrive and put some permissions on it, The Ring, that video would have been passed away. The Ring would have been broken with one person, and the movie would have been over in like 2 minutes. So, OneDrive would have saved the day.
Oh, another one.
Yeah. What's that?
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls.
If they put the burn book in a secure folder, Regina George couldn't have shared it because the labels would have caught the policy. No movie.
No movie. Anyways, sorry. Let's get into this. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, I do co-host the podcast Sync Up with Stephen Rice, who's sitting right here. He's doing a talk in a little bit, so please go see that. I'm also a principal product manager architect on the team. I focus mostly on consumer growth and monetization, but I also do commercial features as well. They rarely let me out, so I'm really happy here today to be presenting to you today. So, look, I know that it's like super early. A lot of you went to the party yesterday, and the last thing you want is somebody saying, "Oh, hey, raise your hand, or clap for me, or clap for this, or stand up and let's take a survey." It's like it's like way too early in the morning for that. So with that, how many of you have used OneDrive for more than 10 years? Can I see that, like, applause or raise your hands? Thank you. Thank you. We salute you. Actually, one too far. Okay. So those of you I see back there, gentlemen, thank you. Uh yeah, I appreciate it. Or we appreciate it, I would say. Uh OneDrive's first generation, as you might remember, was all about storing your things in the cloud and then being able to access it with the device of choice, whether that was a PC or your mobile phone. And that was the very first generation. Our second generation was adding sync. It's syncing from your desktop to the cloud. And that was about enabling collaboration, communication with your teammates, especially inside of Office applications. And you know what? That second generation was pretty good. In the third generation, OneDrive has now become the face of your files. It's the Files app for all of M365. Whether you're in Teams or in Office or in Outlook or in OneDrive itself, there is one consistent file interface that you see across the M365 ecosystem, and that is brought to you by the OneDrive team. So, with that, OneDrive is supported by SharePoint. SharePoint's rock solid reliability, security, and compliance. OneDrive is now trusted by over 90% of the Fortune 500. It's used by millions of small and medium sized businesses. Over 500 million users are active on it at any given time. I think something like 200,000 files are uploaded every few seconds. It's kind of mind-boggling, and we take as a result of that, we believe it's a very important product. We take our jobs as PMs very seriously, and we like do our best to listen to you all and build the right things so that you all can do all of what you do on a regular basis that much more efficiently. So, with that, I want to take a second here and get you to think about OneDrive a little bit more holistically. And this is a great quote. It says, "The world used to think about cloud storage as a place to put things. Now it's where work gets started." So it was written by a guy who, if you spell his last name or first name backwards, it's pronounced Denivra, right? So him and his friend Copilot, basically. So that's Dnivra, right? All right.
Quoting yourself.
Kind of, yeah, but I had some help with my friend Copilot, of course. So, here's what it means to actually have OneDrive be the place where your work gets started. One, it is ready when you are. That's also with you being able to get your organization ready and make it really easy to deploy, but it's also about you being able to find your files and access them across any device that you choose, right? Number two, it's your personal genius. With the power of Copilot and AI, it is a place that can analyze, it can summarize, it can research, it can do all these, it can slice and dice. Well, it actually can't do the last two things, but it can do a lot of things for you without leaving OneDrive. So you really can get things started there. And lastly, it is built for team flow. It is in the middle of all the collaboration scenarios in the M365 ecosystem. It makes it a cinch. OneDrive is obviously a place where you can get your work started. Okay, so let's jump in and talk about what it means to be ready when you are. And that boils down to three facets. One is organizational readiness. The other is being able to find your files, find what matters most when you need it. And two, putting the incredible mobile experience powerfully in your pocket. So here's the thing. I know that a lot of organizations out there, and I've talked to some of you this morning, in fact, and at the booth, um, a lot of you leave it up to your end users as to whether or not you want to, if they want to turn on OneDrive and back their things up to the cloud. Honestly, at this point, like being backing up even your personal files to the cloud is is like having malware protection or antivirus. You just want to do it because you don't know what's going to happen to that device. And so for organizations that don't mandate OneDrive, we're going to have this new experience that's going to show up inside of the Office applications. And when you're working on a document that isn't currently being backed up, we'll show this banner across the top that says, hey, this document isn't actually safe. It's not being backed up. Watch out, you may lose it. And when you click on that button, you'll see that it brings up our backup wizard, where the end user can actually make that decision as to whether or not they want to back up to OneDrive or what they want to back up. Because maybe they don't want to back up their pictures to the corporate cloud. Okay, so this experience is rolling out now, and it's actually in there's a sorry, I should say this is also GPO enabled. So if you feel like this experience isn't right for your organization, of course you can disable it. We hope you don't, but it's your choice. That GPO is available in that particular Office build. There, it's 5497. So okay, now let's say you do decide to initiate KFM or backup here. One of the things that we want to do is make our end user experiences, the messaging and the warnings, that much more intuitive, that much more human understandable. And so, one of the experiences that we have here, and it's a little bit hard to see with some of the text on the bottom, is a new experience on the initial sync when you first start backing up. It actually has messaging that says, hey, you are starting an initial sync. And this kind of messaging is extremely important for folks that are in VDI environments, right? Where they often have to sync down their content for the very first time. Later on, when you come back, let's say you haven't synced in a while, we have another message that will show up, and actually it's slightly different. It says we're catching up since the last sync. So end users can understand, hey, this is like an ongoing relationship I have with the cloud. With both of these experiences, we are looking to launch them this summer. One other thing that I can't demo here, but is happening under the covers and it's already live, is that we've improved that initial sync performance by 3x. So again, for folks in VDIs, they're going to see a difference like pretty quickly. Hopefully, they're already seeing that difference. Okay. Before we move on from the KFM section, I want to show you this is the most important URL at the conference. So I would say if you have a phone, you might want to scan it. So I put that QR code up there for you. This is a link to all of our great documentation around sync ideal state. And so you can learn from the best when it comes to deploying OneDrive in the right way for your organization. All of that documentation is right there. And so please scan it, is what I would say. Okay. All right. So here's another quote from Denivra. Um, and so he said, friends don't let friends use the sync button on document libraries. Okay. So we know a lot of you historically have, or you have end users maybe that are syncing entire document libraries. There's hundreds of thousands of there's like more files in there than you could possibly read in a lifetime. And so you ask like, why are you syncing all of this content when you don't even need it and you couldn't possibly read it? And honestly, it's a lot of data. You end up introducing potential error states. It's not a good experience. But again, we know a lot of people are still in that world, and so we are actually our recommendation is long term to start moving your organization to the add to OneDrive or shortcut feature. Because with add to OneDrive, you choose what you want to sync down. You're not syncing down the whole document library. Hopefully, you're not. You pick and choose which folders so you have them when you need them, but you're not, syncing 2 terabytes of files uh, down. So on the journey to that long-term journey to replacing add to one or replacing sync with add to OneDrive, we know that there are some user experience challenges that you all have told us over the years. And so we've fixed a number of things that are coming out of direct feedback from all of you. So let's jump in. So first off, one of the things that you'll notice with the shortcut experience or add to OneDrive experience is that when you're in OneDrive Web, I love OneDrive Web. It's my most used surface on OneDrive. We have these handy filter pills across the top so that when you're in a particular view, you can, filter out and just look at PowerPoints or PDFs. Well, we're now going to have one for shortcuts. So that's really handy if you want to see everything in view. That is just a shortcut, right? Thank you. Thank you. That was great. We should get you a hat. Here you go. Thank you. I actually, why don't you I'll give it to you right after. I know where you are. Oh, thank you, Michaela. Excellent. Yay. You can say you're even more of a Sync Up fan. Okay, so the other thing that we've heard is that customers are a little, end users are a little confused as to when they're looking at files in a list view as to where these shortcuts are actually referencing. And so we want to make this a little bit clearer here, where now you can see if a shortcut is coming from, say, a document library, like in this case, Contoso or Contoso Assets, or if it's coming from a coworker's OneDrive. And so in this case, we've got Olga, let's go Deletska. If you've listened to our most recent episode of Sync Up, we had Olga on there, and she was talking about the great photo experience. In any case, I've added a shortcut in this view to Olga's OneDrive here. Okay, so with that, these experiences, the new names in the list view, those are all available now, and then the shortcut filter across the top that's going to be coming later on this year. Okay, let's move on with more enhancements to add to OneDrive. So the very first time you, or not the first time, but when you start with a particular item and you add it to your OneDrive, we're going to now pop this toast that says, "Hey, you've added this to your OneDrive. It is now syncing to your OneDrive." And so that's just a nice bit of confirmation that formerly it was less clear when you were syncing syncing a add to OneDrive experience. Okay, and then next, this often comes up. It came up yesterday during the session, during Guy's session, and this is a common scenario where you might add a shortcut from for an item for something that's actually already being synced via document library. And so in this instance, as a means to get everyone into the future over the long term, when you do add something to your OneDrive that is in a document library that's synced, you're going to see this message pop up in a toast that says, "Hey, you know what? You're already syncing this. Why don't you replace it with a shortcut?" And so we're getting you to that more efficient future state. And for all of our File Explorer fans out there, we are also updating our iconography as well, so you can also have a more intuitive experience. So if you're in a view in your OneDrive and File Explorer, you will see this nice little icon here with the little arrows showing you that is a shortcut, and that's consistent with what you would see on the web experience. So nice, consistent experience across all the OneDrive endpoints. Okay, so with that, the desktop notifications, they are available now, and the icon updates, those will be coming later on this year. Okay, now looking to the future, okay, if you are just deploying OneDrive, or if you just want to get ahead of the game and you ultimately want to get rid of that sync experience so you don't create bad habits in your user base, we have this group policy object that you can roll out to your individual users so that that sync button doesn't it's not tempting them, right? And so it won't even show up. Okay. So with that, let's move on. Okay. All right. Let's talk about OneDrive Web for a second. I told you that this is one of my favorite experiences in the OneDrive endpoints. And this is a common scenario where somebody might, in a Teams message or an email, they send you a link to a shared folder. And now, formally, when you would click on this, it would take you into File Explorer and you would go see the shared content. And if you actually clicked up a level, you'd be in this discombobulated state where, if that individual didn't say share anything else with you, you'd be in this weird view or didn't show anything. We call it internally the twilight zone because it was such a weird state. We want to fix that and make this way more intuitive for customers. There is an awesome feature in the OneDrive web experience that I use. Probably it's my most used feature in OneDrive web. It's called the people view. And it's my number one way for finding files because that's how my brain works. So the people view, when you click on it, will let you see your files. You can click into individual users and it'll show you all the files that they've shared with you. So now, in this instance, when somebody shares a folder with me, what's going to happen is when I click on the link, it's actually going to take me to OneDrive Web's people view where that folder is actually hosted. So now if I actually click up a link to Serena Davis, I'll see all the content that she has shared with me. And if she hasn't shared anything with me, I'll only see the one item in there. And that from that level, I can also then jump off to other people that I might be collaborating with, which is, again, a more seamless and intuitive experience for your end users. Less confusing. We like that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Cool. We're on a roll here. All right. So this experience with the shared experience, it's going to be rolling out later this summer. So please give us feedback. Okay. All right. Before we move off of the web experience, I just want to point out we have two new enhancements to our search. This is probably my second most used feature. I use search a lot because I don't really organize my stuff. I just throw everything into one big folder, and so search is very helpful for me. And so one of the things that we're adding is a people search, so you can type in people's names. We'll also suggest in the suggestion tools up there people that you might be thinking of based on what you're typing. We've also enabled better search and relevancy as well. So that search is just going to get a lot better on the OneDrive web experience and throughout the OneDrive experience. And so with these experiences should be launching before the end of June. At least that's what we're targeting right now. So okay, that's our OneDrive web experience or what's new there. Now I want to take just a few moments to talk about our File Explorer experience because we know there's a ton of people that grew up with File Explorer and love it. And so a couple things I will point out here that the enhancements that we've made over the years. Number one, in that recommended area, that's a tile of all the files that are most relevant to you based on who you're collaborating with or work that's currently happening and or actions that you need to take. So if somebody comments on a doc and they mention you, that's going to show up in the top. The other thing that you'll also see is that we've got recent and favorites now in there, and the video is not. There we go. Now it's fine. So favorites is right there, and then we also have a shared view where, again, similar to OneDrive Web, you can see all the files that are shared and who shared them with you. You'll also notice across the top. What are those? Those are loop files. So we have support for modern file types like loop and Power BI and designer files. We also have these info cards for all the people, so you can see all those avatars in that list view. And when you click on them, you can we'll click on that one at the top with Laisha. Laisha's sitting right there. Hi, Laisha. You bring up this really rich info card for Laisha here, and you can see the organization she belongs to, all the files that Laisha and I are collaborating on, as well as all of our latest messages. So it makes it really easy from File Explorer just to get anything done. Okay, so with that, the File Explorer experiences, the modern file types and the shared files, those are all available today. The people card is in insider builds at this moment, so it'll be GAing like later on this year. At least that's the plan. Okay, let's do a demo. So this is Michaela loves doing live demos. These scare me, so we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna do a live demo for our mobile experience. Our mobile experience, like I said, is all about putting the power of OneDrive in your pocket. And let's see, let's go ahead and turn that on. And so I'm going to start with the photo experience. This is for OneDrive consumer customers. I love our photo experience. I have like about a terabyte of photos in here, and it makes it real. I have so many photos; it's really difficult to find what I'm actually looking for. So, uh, let's say I'm looking for a photo. We had the chance to go to the fortunate chance to go to Antarctica a few years ago, and there's a lot of penguins down there. And my son decided to wear a penguin costume down there. And because he wanted to film this video that was like Naruto, where he's like running with penguins and with the penguins, where penguins. It's very meta. Anyways, I'm gonna type in penguin, and if I just do this, I'm gonna get like 1,000 photos of just penguins because I took a lot. And so I'm gonna type in penguin costume, and then boom, there it is. It's the very first photo. Like OneDrive, through the power of AI and whatnot, it was able to find that exact photo. In fact, the second photo is someone dressed up at a theme park in a penguin costume. So that's pretty amazing. Love that performance. The other thing that I really like about what we're doing with AI and photos is around the people view. So with the people view, you can go in and tag different people in photos, and it makes it's just a really nice way to experience or relive your memories. And so in this case, if I go look at my son, can look at him over the years, like, oh, he was like Winter Soldier. That was kind of cool. And then here he is now. Hmm. I don't, this is like Fast and the Furious or something. I don't know. But anyways, it's a fun way to experience, the things that make up our lives. One other thing that I'd love to take a second to show is our moments pivot. Now, these are AI moments created based off of what's in my own OneDrive, my photos. So my experience may be very different from what you all might see. So for instance, um, OneDrive will take these photos, they'll curate them into a slideshow that makes it, again, really awesome to share, really awesome to relive. Here's a trip that we recently went to in New York. And so I can click on this, and it gives me a nice soundtrack. Look, this is me in my middle age crisis leather jacket. Um, and then here's a picture in Times Square. Here's a picture of, oh yeah, this is where me and my wife went and visited um, a coworker, Arjun, who looks like he should be on a cover of GQ or something. Um, Actually, people get us confused sometimes, which is kind of cool. Like, I find it very flattering. He probably finds it very annoying. But in any case, let's see. Let's go back to, what screen are we on? One?
7.
All right. Oh, 7. Okay, actually, let me do this. Let's do, okay, here it is. I've got it going. Okay, let's talk about this new feature called Photo Shuffle.
Arvind, you have got to stop. I
It
know we let you out of the consumer closet, but these people are here for enterprise.
really like Photo Shuffle. Like,
No,
so we have
they want
feature.
admin center, security. They're here for the good stuff. You gotta keep it going.
All right. All right. Well, here's what I'll say. We do have a OneDrive annual fall event where, if you're curious and you want to see all the latest with OneDrive, whether it's commercial or consumer, it's usually an event that it's free. It's broadcast on YouTube. It usually happens sometime in the fall. I'm assuming we'll have one again this year. We'll announce all kinds of new things. So join us then, and you'll get to see all the things that Michaela won't let me show you today. All right, so let's go ahead and switch over, and let's look at some commercial experiences. And oh my God, does my eyes deceive me? There are color folders on mobile. Yes, thank you, thank you. They're always a hit.
This is what they're here for.
Color folders. I know, I know. I give the people what they want. So, yes, color folders are coming on mobile. You're gonna be able to. The display of color folders are coming on mobile, so you'll be able to see all the color folders that are created on the other OneDrive endpoints and File Explorer and so forth. The ability to create and edit them on mobile will come at a future date, but for now, they're going to show up in all of their splendor here. One of the things I'd love to show you all real quick is some functionality in the app that you may not already know about, and it comes to PDFs. PDFs. This thing is a PDF powerhouse. So in this instance, there's this contract here called the Ultimate Contract that I have. It's a PDF, and it says something like, "Dear Arvind, I hereby give these most delicious of donuts to you. In exchange, you agree to part with your soul." And it's signed by Louis Cypher. I don't even know who that is, but I look through it. There's some exhibits here, and oh, those donuts do look tasty. I love donuts. So one thing I might want to do is I might want to go ahead and extract just that page of donuts so I can, post them in my cubicle and like see what I'm selling my soul for and remind me every single day. The other thing that I might wanna do, okay, now that I've got that thing saved or whatever, I'm gonna go ahead and, it looks good to me, this contract, and so I am going to click on this, and I'm gonna annotate it, and I'm actually going to digitally sign this. Come on. There we go. Okay, and so I will sign over my soul for those donuts. All right, let's put that in there and size it. There we go. Okay, cool. So yeah, you can go ahead and digitally sign PDFs, which is pretty cool. All right. So that is just a quick tour of OneDrive Mobile. There's a ton of other features that we don't have the time to get to today, but please check it out. A lot of these things are going to be available as we speak, including is it one, right? Or of 7. Okay. Yeah, so including, our color folders, they are let's see, there we go. Our color folders are coming this summer, and then all of the PDF features, so extract, merge, annotate, and, digital signatures, these are all available now, so please try them out. Alright, so with that, that is the ready when you are phase, and now we're gonna move on to the personal genius experience. So, Michaela, what do we got?
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Arvin.
You're
With
welcome.
OneDrive, with OneDrive as your personal genius, you can do more. When you combine them together, you
Damn. Wow. Did you make that?
I did make that. When I'm not doing live demos, I do PowerPoint art.
That is awesome.
I had a really good talk track, but I was too excited for it. Okay, so when OneDrive and Copilot come together, you could turn it into your thinking partner. So in my intro, I said that I lead the collaboration team. Before that, I worked on an experience that we call OneDrive Gen 3. And Arvin talked about it a little bit. This would have been, if you're here in 2023, you would have seen this kind of transition all over the place, taking a new generation of OneDrive into the world and bringing it across the ecosystem. So it's the place for all of your files. Now, like I said, this was 2 years ago. So me and my team did this without AI. We were building this experience with just our brains. And I can't get over how now, just 2 years later, this would have gone so differently with Copilot. And so for you today, I have set up where we were 2 years ago, and I'm going to walk you through what would be different with Copilot. And this is what, we do for features that we're building today, but those aren't launched. So we're going to use an example that you guys are all familiar with and know. So let's get right into it. Like Arvin said, I like live demos. All right, so I'm in my OneDrive, uh, as you guys know and love. And for building the OD3 experience, we had so many teams that were constantly in communication with each other. And they needed to understand the impact of each other because if one team did something, the other one would have to be up to date and maybe change their plan. So, a OneDrive agent is an absolute must. You can ask questions like, what is the design update? As you saw on the screens and in 2 years ago, a huge design change was coming and it was constantly evolving. And so this is sourcing all of the different documents that the multiple teams are looking at to let you know here's where we're landing. And it's different day to day, week over week. And so you can see it's giving me, as I said, a lot of design changes are happening. So different email templates, visual polish, a new suite nav, all these things that you guys already know about. So let's take a look at how I built this because with the OneDrive agent, you're going to notice a new button in the sources. I can add from OneDrive, which is awesome. Now, when I'm in this people picker, you're going to mention or you're going to notice I have the same left nav as what I have in OneDrive Web. So I can go through to that people view that Arvin's talking about, and I can actually ground this agent in files that have been shared with me. So this is an impact of motion on timelines. I want that one. I can go into meetings and I can pick files from different meetings that were shared with me. Or, of course, I can pick files from my own OneDrive. And I can select those and add them in. So you see, I have files from other OneDrives, from a document library, and from my own OneDrive. And so this allows me to ask questions like, recap the most recent customer feedback from the rollout. And so this is as we're launching, we are constantly monitoring what you guys are saying. And we are putting it into these documents so that we can understand what that feedback is. And so when we look through this, we see, okay, so the current feedback is something about a button, something about a folder, some migration things. We're getting a lot of feedback from folks, and it's super helpful. But I could go a step further and say, how is this feedback different than last week? What's the change that we're seeing here? And so what we're going to watch Copilot do is again use these documents that I've pulled from our shared location, our individual locations, and actually paint me the picture of as you've rolled out and fixed things, we're seeing the feedback trends shift. And so this is spitting out current trends, previous trends, and what I'm going to draw your attention to is the comparison. And so comparing it to the recent feedback, it kind of gives me this breakdown of last week you saw this week you see this. And so this is a living, breathing piece of our team. And one of the ways that we interact with this in our team is actually putting it in our team's chat, like I have here. And it truly is a member of our org, right? You can at mention this agent just like I can at mention anyone else on the Gen 3 feature crew. And I can ask something like, what dates do I need to care about? And so it's the same agent, but it's truly integrated in our workflow. And we use it as if it was another hire that we had in the org. And so you can see, as it's figuring it out, I've actually already queued up this prompt here. And so it gives me all of the different dates. And like I mentioned, this third generation of OneDrive was huge. It took a lot of different ship moments, a lot of staging. And so it's spitting out these dates for me, letting me know, and anyone in this chat can use it to stay up to date. And so as this goes, it'll let me actually, view the response, make sure it's okay. I ask the query, I get to review, and I can go ahead and send. Now, I think I've emphasized it a few times, but I really want to make sure it's landing, is that this is a living, breathing part of the team. These documents are constantly changing. These dates, never the same. And so this question will get asked frequently because it's always evolving. And so it saves time from someone messaging me saying, wait, what's the latest date we're trying to target? Ask Copilot. They know. So this agent's awesome. Now, as we've been going through here, you might have noticed a button, the word button popping up a few times. I'd like to show you what button we're talking about and what we would do if Copilot was around. So let me close this out. All right, the button, this guy over here, seems like there's some concern around it. So with Copilot, I've actually just taken a picture of the product. I got it here. And I'm going to ask Copilot, what can I do to make this button better? So I can say, give me some more names for this button. And it'll come up as like a second brain and help me get some ideas going. Not saying they're going to be perfect, but it's an awesome starting point. So 10 that come out of the box. But let's make this more useful. I want to say, give me these names based on the user feedback that we have. And so I can ground this question in all of the incoming feedback that we have and say, what should I actually call this button based on the real complaints that customers are giving me? And so you can see here, it incorporates the feedback. It's parsing apart the image. Notice that it's not pulling apart, this word thing could be called a button. It knows what I'm talking about. 2 clicks, I now have 15 suggestions, and I can experiment or, do whatever I need to figure out the right thing to call this. I did do this by hand 2 years ago, and I will tell you this took weeks to figure out, and so now it takes minutes, which is awesome. So now if I wanna share this, I can include a new experience that we're bringing to your favorite file types. You'll see this Copilot button here where you can insert a summary into any of the files that you're sharing. This will go into the email that you send. So you can see here it pops up a summary, you can hit send, and it lets people know what they're talking about. I'm showing you on an image. I have a slide that'll have really tiny font of all the file types we're now supporting. But it's a really helpful tool. They're very concise summaries, which makes it really nice when you're sharing it a little bit broadly. All right, so with this third generation of OneDrive, one of the biggest things that we brought was delightful animation. So you see that little wiggle, the little button wiggle, and how the page smoothly go. You guys shouldn't notice it. It should just feel natural. Uh, but it was new to me. I had never worked on animation. I had never done vector analysis of pixels moving on a screen. And so I would spend, hours in the meetings with the designers that were creating all of these different things. And it was a different set of engineers. And I would just sit in on their meetings to try to understand how is this going to impact the timelines. With Copilot, never again. I can go in, I see their animation sync. I simply go to their recording and I ask a question. And so I can see, were there any dates discussed that impact the timeline? So it's now using the recording and the transcript to let me know. Now, usually the answer is no. But you see here, yes, it does look like something was discussed. It looks like Nestor and Meg found a feature that's going to take a lot longer than what they expected. And this is bad. No one likes it when we're late, right? So I need to pull these dates back in. I'm going to ask Copilot to actually go ahead and draft a message to Nestor and Meg so that I can learn more and figure out how to not slip. And so the cool part about this is that I'm not in this meeting. I did not attend the meeting. I don't want to be in that meeting. And this email draft is going to include information from the meeting recording and the transcript. So now when I send it to Nestor and Meg, it's going to include the actual facts that they went through saying, this feature seems like a problem. Let's go deeper in. And so it kind of takes all of this context that I otherwise would have to listen through and lets me move the project forward and bring those dates in because, again, no one likes getting features slower. Okay, now the last thing that I'm going to show you before I jump back into the PowerPoint is that everything that I just demoed is coming into document libraries. And so you can see here, this is the document library that I was using to ground that OneDrive agent. We have our OneDrive Gen 3 launch materials in here. And, does anyone's document libraries look like this? We've got V1, Final. They've all been updated on the exact same date. And you have, I have no idea what the difference is. So I can go in and ask Copilot, let's actually figure out what's going on in these files. So I can say, take a look at these, tell me what the variations are, and then maybe most importantly, what's the comprehensive or which one's the most comprehensive? Which one can I just read and not pay attention to? So it breaks out the difference, which is great. But really, I want to know the most comprehensive file is indeed the final. So that's nice, but that's not always true. And then I can go a step further and say, what makes it final, right? What was added to it that actually makes it different than the other two versions? And so Copilot's going to go through all the slides. I'm not going to open these all for you. They all have about 45 slides, 6 sections. And it's telling me that there were 2 different sections added, a dark mode and a timeline. Super helpful. I now understand. I really don't need to even look at the other ones. I'm just going to snap to that one file that is the most comprehensive. All right, let's go back to the PowerPoint and do a quick little recap here. And this deck will be available for everyone afterwards. It has all the videos of the demos I just walked through in case you guys want to bring them back into your company. So we got agents in OneDrive, really powerful for setting up a work stream and a real member of your team joining the workspace. We have oh, you guys don't need to watch that video again. Q&A on meetings started rolling out last week. So that'll be continuing rolling out as we're going. Oh, this is confusing.
I know, right? That is very confusing.
Okay, so share with summary on all your favorite files. This is the super tiny font that I was mentioning. You can see here the most common file types that we support will now see this button on them. So never just send an email again. Put the summary in there. Let people know when they're what they're going to be opening. And this rollout will begin in the fall. And now we have the Q&A on meetings, which began rolling out last week. My subtitles are over that, but you'll see it in the deck afterwards. And then we have the last one, which is Copilot in document libraries. Use your favorite features. I walked you through 2 prompts. There's so much more there. You can create FAQ, you can compare the files, you can do a lot, and it's consistent across everything. Okay, I'm going to hand back over to Arvind.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Talking about File Explorer just for a second here. Um, let's see. Okay, there we go. You'll notice that in File Explorer, we've got a context menu here where you can bring up some specific prompts directly from the File Explorer. It creates that chat experience right in the Explorer there. And here, I've asked this question to suggest new steps or next steps on a particular file. It's provided some output there. I want to continue that conversation and ask it some additional follow-up questions. I can do that right there. I don't have to go into a different experience. It's just taking place in the Explorer. And mind you, that's a file that could be used that I could be referencing that's on the local machine, or it could be a file that's in the cloud. It just works, which is pretty awesome. Okay. The other thing that I will just say is that these features are going to be coming out around summer of this summer, effectively. So look for them, and please, again, give us feedback. All right, let's do one more demo here on mobile. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of confidence here. So, okay, let's switch over to number 4. Okay, perfect. So let's say you're a busy executive and you are, you're jumping into a cab to get onto a plane to go save the universe. And someone says, "Hey, you've got to hire this amazing person, Michaela Barrett. She is truly awesome." And here's her 30-page CV. You're like, "I'm a busy executive. I don't have time to read a 30-page thing, even as great as Michaela is." Well, we now have this feature called audio summaries. So I can choose this option. It says create an audio overview. And now Copilot is doing its thinking here. By the way, Star Wars, that's another movie that OneDrive
Hello.
would have
Today,
been
I'll be
better.
sharing an audio
That what OneDrive would have made a lot shorter, right? Because at the very beginning, R2D2 backs his stuff up to OneDrive, and then
Oh,
the plans get transmitted. Alderaan never gets blown up. Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't die. It's that much shorter.
that's a good one.
What's that? Yeah, I was just well, I mean, if you haven't seen Star Wars, yeah. A very short movie, it's over in like 2 minutes. So in any case, let's learn about Michaela and how great she is. So what
Right,
is
about Michaela Barrett, a leader in sharing and collaboration for Microsoft 365. Michaela's journey is a fascinating blend of mathematics, medicine, and technology, and her unique skills have shaped how we collaborate in the digital world. Let's dive in.
Yep.
Field at the career began at Johns Hopkins
Anyways,
University.
this is like I said, she very let it keep playing or let it you would like that. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know, they seem like they're enjoying it.
yeah. So Michaela is indeed very accomplished, and this did a great job of capturing her entire CV. It was just in a document. All it did was summarize it. You could put on some AirPods and go running and listen to this bio. So with that, these audio summaries, if I switch back to 7, is that these audio summaries are actually already going to be coming out for OneDrive Web this month, and they're going to be coming out for mobile before I think it's the end of June. So, okay. So with that, we're moving into our final phase here, and this one is a doozy. It is very important. Some really great stuff here. This is all about OneDrive and how it's built for your team flow. So we have some great I would say, collaboration scenarios that you're going to show us. So
Yeah, absolutely.
here you go.
Thank you. OneDrive is not just focused on your personal collaboration. When you're doing collaboration across an org, it's not just about being productive on your own, but being productive as a whole. And OneDrive builds that foundation for your team's flow. And so when we look at this, it's really across three areas: seamless collaboration, secure sharing, and team alignment. Our goal is that when your team works together, you don't just move faster, but you move further. And so let's go through a couple of numbers here. OneDrive powers the sharing experience for 64 apps across Microsoft, where we see just around 1.2 billion shares happening a month. Now, this was all built on a platform on SharePoint that was over 10 years old at this point. So, with your help, your feedback, and your adoption, this has become, the power and the experience that we know as modern collaboration today. But a lot of your feedback has not been taken. It truly was impossible to build some of the features that you've been asking for in the existing thing we were working in. And so today, for the first time to the public, I'm here to announce the next decade of sharing. We are bringing a new sharing model for M365 that is simple, smart, and secure, based on, oh, yes.
Look at that. They already know.
It is based on your feedback and the features that you need to collaborate for the next 10 years, not just the past. This model change is introducing a hero link that will be on each file. The user can control access with this link for their entire file space. And yes, by popular demand, this hero link will be the URL for address bar sharing. You guys know you've tried to copy that URL before. Everyone in here's tried it. We're finally giving you the experience where it'll just work. You are in control the entire time with this file. The access will be set on what the current permissions is, and then you decide what happens next. And then lastly, we want every person to understand not just who has access and be able to manage it, but we want you to know how that person has access, where they're coming from, and be able to change it as you need. So with this new model change, we are bringing in one place for you to access, manage, and do it all within the flow of sharing. I'm going to show it to you. That's enough words. Okay, so I am in an account. I'm going to prove this to you. It is an account for Michaela right here. I am making an action plan. I'm getting busy. I'm making an action plan. I've shared this with a couple of folks on my team, Isen and Steven, and they only have view access so that they can see all the actions I'm putting together in the plan. Now, as I've gotten a little bit more finalized, I want them to actually be able to edit and contribute. So now I can bulk update and give them edit, and I get a notification letting me know what I'm doing. Yes, I want to update. She made direct eye contact with me. So you could bulk update to give anyone the access that you need. Okay, so now Isen, Steven, and I are editing. We got this action plan. The actions are coming. We have a lot going on. We're excited. It's gotten to a really good point. We say, let's grab this link real fast, and we're just going to share it with our managers. Now, lucky for me, I have one of my managers log in right here. We got Jason Moore logged in. He goes into the Teams chat. He grabs that link. He can't wait to see all the action and the planning that we've been doing. He goes ahead, opens that link, and he doesn't have access. And I see Jason Moore actually up here. He's twitching. He's giving. It's not good. This is the worst case scenario. You never want your manager to not have access to all the hard work you've been doing. With the new model, you simply go back in to the hero link and you can update to people in your organization and allow this change. Now, let me split my screen so you can watch this happening. With the same link, Jason can just open it from Teams again or refresh his page, and he now has access because it's one link to control the access. Now, just to prove that this really works, I can go back in, I can change this back to only people added, confirm I want to lock this down, and now Jason goes back to not having the access. So it's seamless to control this file. And you have this screen here to always show you exactly what the file is offering in terms of access. No more confusion around who's in my file and why. How are we doing on time?
We're good. 8 minutes.
Oh, okay. So I have barely scratched the surface of this change, but I'm going to keep moving on because we got a lot to show you. There is an entire session dedicated to this new sharing model. So come back to this room in 3 hours, no QR code, but you guys know this room in 3 hours. Yeah, okay. For the collaboration, it'll be a full hour just dedicated to this change. And like I said, we got a lot to show you in that. I've only shown you one feature. Okay, so we have talked about document libraries, but we haven't gone into the full spectrum of what we're doing here. I'd like to take you through a quick journey on them. Let me flip back over here and show you what we got going on. We're going to leave Jason's account. I'll get out of there. Okay, so sometimes when you're collaborating beyond just yourself, right, you put things in a document library like we showed before. And this goes into everything where if you opened it in a site, it's the same experience. So if I open this over here, you'll see the Copilot button, everything that I showed you before. Now let's take a look at some icon that you guys might notice here. Uh, any guesses what this is? Yes.
Yeah.
But maybe another way to say it is this icon means you are saving 75% of the cost of storing this data if you're over quota. This means that it is almost 5 cents per gig instead of 20 cents per gig. So let me show you what's going on here from both the admin perspective and the end user perspective. As the admin, you get to have, sometimes there's a ton of data in SharePoint, and at some point you do run out. Normally, you either have to pay for hot storage or you need to go and move to a third party solution. We are bringing you a third option called Archive. And so a few months ago, we shipped the ability to archive an entire SharePoint site as a tenant admin with either the UX or the PowerShell, but we know that more granularity is needed, as well as giving some of that flexibility to your end users. So as an admin, you can now set different policies and life cycles on the files. For example, if a file isn't used for X amount of years, go ahead and archive it and put it into that cheaper storage cost. Now, from the end user perspective, you get this icon, you can see the file, you just can't do your normal actions on it, but you can rehydrate it at any time to reactivate, and then you'll get an email letting you know that it has indeed been reactivated. If it's within 7 days, it takes a couple hours. If it's later than 7 days, it takes about a day to rehydrate. So it lets you have that control as the admin to set the policies and as the end user to get access to files that are more important in case one of the policies is no longer accurate for it. Now, the last feature I want to show you in the document libraries is the forms experience where you can go in and, like I said, we have our Gen 3 launch and we always want to collect blogs as we're going to post them. And so I send this form out to my team. They upload the file. They need to fill in the product owner, publish date, and approver. And so 2 folks have already filled it in. And so when I go into that, you'll see we have the files updated. We've got all the metadata there. And so it's super easy to then run the processes and automations that you would want on this in the document library experience. We know that collaboration happens. I'm going to click through these slides real fast. So we know that collaboration happens on your own, in a team, in your organization, but sometimes it happens outside of your organization and you have needs to go beyond that tenant. We are bringing 2 features into this collaboration scenario that allow wonderful external collaboration. Any admins in the room? Oh, okay.
Everybody.
Let's take a look then. I'll show you. I don't usually demo the admin center, but here we are. So we are building a new permission on our folder links. So previously, you'd only get view, edit, and upload or view. So this means that when someone's accessing a folder and setting a permission, they only had those two options. We're now building a middle option so that people can view and upload, but not have that edit permission. So let's take a look at what this actually means in practice. In my files, I have a vendor collection of assets. We have a ton of external companies that create some of these really awesome visuals that you see here. I create a link for them I request the files coming in. It's an anyone link. And I use that new permission model so that all of these different vendors can submit their content. They can't edit anything, but they can see that their content has been uploaded. And so this has been a really powerful permission update for external sharing. And we see a lot of companies now being able to enable this at scale because they have the right control. Now in here, you'll notice we got a lot of PDF assets. And so real quick, I want to show you some cool things that we're doing with PDFs because we know they're one of your favorite file types. So first, you can now encrypt and protect your PDFs. So these were sent in from an external user. I can lock them down inside my tenant and only have that password to access them. Sometimes these files are huge. Massive assets are coming in. You can compress light, medium, heavy, and make it easy to share and smaller to store. And then lastly, this is probably one of my favorite features. You can translate this into 10 different languages based on where your team is located and what you need across the org. I've already created some of these translated documents, so I'll show you them here. If I click back, you'll see here's the same file in Dutch. And here's the
Dutch.
yes. And here's the same file in French. I don't speak either of those languages, but if you guys do, you can let me know. Those look right to me. And then the second thing that we're doing to make external collaboration great, sometimes you are sharing information, maybe a preview or a sneak peek at something, and then you see this face file here. I'm the only one in the document right now. But maybe you don't want, everyone knowing who's in this document, especially if you're sharing something that is, a little bit more sensitive. We are shipping the ability to turn this off at a site level. So if you do not want the presence on, you can turn it off so that you're able to have some privacy when you're in the content. Okay, so we have now talked about collaborating as one, as a team, as your org, externally. We have one more type of collaboration to get through in 0 minutes. But first, we're going to have a question. What is the most common file type stored in OneDrive?
Loop files.
No. Anyone use some spreadsheets? Excel. Excel is the number one. Now, what's number two? PDF, our favorite. All right, we'll go to the last demo. So, beyond external collaboration, the last form of team flow is actually when someone leaves the team. And yes, that is part of the cycle. We're ending our journey when someone departs. Who here's ever received this email? Yes, that means that someone has left your team and you are now the proud owner of all their files. And as you can see in this email, it's not very clear what you need to do. So we are making a ton of changes to make this experience delightful. Let me show it to you. Again, we're going to do it live. Okay, so as the manager, this will now be the email that you receive. Notice a big bang, alert, there's action to be taken, a clear date, and then a link to view the files. So now when you click this link, notice it looks a little bit different, and we have a shared tab. So this will sort your content based on the documents in your employees' OneDrive that have been shared. And when I think about
Yeah, he's standing.
you don't get another hat. You've already got one. So it's now, so you can see what's shared. But let's go a step further. Maybe you should keep standing, actually. So I can select these files that are already shared, move them, And you're going to notice, wait for it, keep sharing with the same people. So your team flow is not broken. Amazing. And of course, if you don't want to use the shared experience, you can go over to all files and manage them in the same way with the same ability to reshare and keep them going. Okay, I am severely over time, but thank you for letting me get through all of this. Like we said, the deck will be available and you guys can see all of the different changes that we have coming. I do have a couple of slides for you to take a picture of.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say this is all the stuff that we showed today, and it's gosh, we're out of time here. It's an impressive amount of stuff. Here is all the stuff that the entire team is actually working on. So there's a ton of stuff that we weren't able to show you. And if you want to know any more information about OneDrive between now and the next M365 conference, we have great content on the podcast. A lot of fans out there. Please keep listening, like, and subscribe. We have our monthly office hours, which is maybe the best hour you can spend with OneDrive in any month. And we have our blog where we post all the latest information. So again, thank you all for coming.